You are afraid of the dark. Not really. Just a little. Just enough that you check the lock twice, or leave a light on down the hall. You tell yourself it is nothing. But the real answer is far stranger, because that flicker of fear is not yours, it is theirs. It belonged to people who had every reason to be afraid, and it never left. 200,000 years ago, the dark was not empty. It had teeth. Lions bigger than the ones alive today stalked the grasslands. Hyenas hunted in packs that could strip a body in minutes. Leopards dragged prey into trees just to keep it from other predators. And your ancestors, thin-skinned, slow, and armed with nothing but sharpened sticks, were not at the top of that food chain. They were somewhere in the middle, sometimes lower. So how did they survive? Not by being the strongest, not even close. They survived by being the most adaptable animal the planet had ever produced. Start with the weather, because the weather nearly ended everything before it began. Around 900,000 years ago, the human population dropped so low that some researchers believe it may have fallen to under 1,300 breeding individuals. That is not a bad year. That is a bottleneck, a near-extinction event, driven by a shifting, unstable climate that swung between brutal cold and punishing drought. Anthropologist Rick Potts, who directs the Human Origins program at the Smithsonian, has spent decades studying exactly this kind of instability. His research suggests something counterintuitive. It was not a single harsh environment that shaped the human brain. It was the constant unpredictability of many environments, forcing early humans to become flexible instead of specialized. Think about what that means. A specialist animal is built for one world, perfect claws for one kind of prey, perfect fur for one kind of cold. But when that world changes, a specialist dies with it. Humans took the opposite bet. Instead of adapting the body to one place, they adapted the mind to any place. That bet is why you are here. But minds do not stop spears mid-air. Something physical had to change too, and that brings you to one of the strangest advantages your species ever developed, one you use almost every single day without noticing it. You can run forever. Not fast, forever. Most predators are sprinters. A lion can outrun you in seconds, but it cannot sustain that speed. Its body overheats almost immediately. Human bodies do something almost no other mammal can do at this level. You sweat through bare skin, across your entire body, which lets you release heat while moving. Biologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard has spent years studying this trait, calling it one of the key reasons early humans could hunt animals that were faster and stronger than they were. The strategy is called persistence hunting. Track an animal in the heat of the day. Do not stop. Do not let it rest. Eventually, its body gives out from overheating before yours does. It sounds almost cruel. It is also brilliant. A weapon made entirely of patience. Weather did more than force endurance, though. It forced shelter, and shelter forced something even bigger. Knowledge passed between generations. Around 160,000 years ago, on the southern coast of what is now South Africa, a group of early humans faced an ice age. Inland resources were vanishing. Archaeologist Curtis Marion has spent years excavating caves at a site called Pinnacle Point, and what he found rewrote part of the story. These early humans did not just survive the cold. They adapted by harvesting shellfish along the shoreline, timing their foraging to the tides, and using heat-treated stone tools sharper than anything made before them. This was not instinct. This was technique, refined and taught, generation after generation. That single detail matters more than it seems. Passing down a skill means trusting someone else's memory more than your own experience. It means believing that a technique tested by your grandmother will still work for you, in a place she may have never even seen. Question: what kind of animal survives by trusting information it did not personally discover? The answer is the same animal, reading this sentence right now. Fire changed the equation again. Not just for warmth, though warmth alone would have been enough to matter. Fire pushed back the predators that once ruled the night. It extended the working day past sunset. It let people gather in a small circle of light and talk, plan, and remember together, instead of sleeping in fear, scattered and alone. A gathering point like that does something subtle, but massive. It turns survival from an individual struggle into a shared project. And shared survival needed one more ingredient nobody expects: cooperation with strangers. Small bands could not survive isolated forever. Marriage between distant groups, trade of tools, and shared knowledge of dangerous terrain meant that when local resources failed, there was somewhere else to go, and someone else willing to help. A lone human against a leopard has almost no chance. 100 humans, spread across allied bands with shared knowledge of every water source for 100 miles, have something close to an unbeatable advantage. This is the twist most people never expect. The deadliest animals were never the main event. They were a constant pressure, dangerous but survivable with enough vigilance. The real threat, the one that could end an entire population, was unpredictability itself. Drought where there was river the year before. Frost in a season that used to be mild. Herds that vanished for reasons no one could explain. Humans did not outmuscle that threat. They outadapted it, using memory, cooperation, and technique as tools sharper than any spear point. And that brings this back to you, standing in a warm room, with a locked door, and a light left on down the hall. You will probably never face a lion in the dark. You do not need shellfish timed to a tide to eat tonight. But the instinct is still running underneath everything you do. It is why you check twice before trusting a stranger with something important. It is why a group project feels safer than working entirely alone. It is why, deep in a season of bad news, you look for people to talk it through with, instead of carrying it by yourself. That instinct is not a flaw left over from a more dangerous world. It is the exact trait that got your ancestors through 10,000 versions of that dangerous world, one unpredictable season at a time. So the next time you feel that small flicker of unease in the dark, do not brush it past. That is not fear. That is inheritance. And the real answer is far stranger than you thought, because the thing that kept your ancestors alive was never their strength. It was how quickly they learned to change.